Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Hi, welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. I've got a shocking topic for you today. You might be aware of this. I was not. But we're going to talk about this parent's guide to 125 plus explicit books that are in the Albuquerque public schools. That's according to my guests. And they're going to be discussing how to protect our children from pornography in New Mexico school libraries. Now, if you have a child and you have a computer and a cell phone, there are ways to lock out certain things, but how do you lock it out of our libraries and our public schools? That's what we're going to discuss on Issues and Answers today. We're not talking about censorship. We're not talking about freedom of speech. I think we're kind of talking about keeping kids innocent as long as we can in this very difficult world we live in. If you recall when you were a child or you're a child, you want them to be precious and innocent because when they grow up, oh boy, they're going to be hit with everything. We don't want them to have that in our public schools, in our libraries. So please stay with us as we discuss this kind of shocking revelation about, we're not going to tell you exactly what it says, but we're talking about what our children can see in their own public libraries that we pay our taxes to provide books for. So stay with us to find out what's going on and what you can maybe do about it. We'll be back right after this. Glad you stayed with us because the topic is rather shocking. It's about 125, more than 125, explicit books in Albuquerque public schools, and again, how to protect our children from pornography. And it was 4 months of study to find out about this. We're going to talk about the rating system of books and also talk about what kind of damage, harmful effects of exposure to sexually explicit materials can do to our children. A number of studies around the country that have shown what kind of damage. But we're going to put a happy face on right now to meet our guests. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We have Don, DJ Andrade, who is an apologist. We'll discuss that. And his lovely wife, Damara Andrade, who's also an apologist, who's part of the program. And they're the ones who put together this handbook.
Yes.
We're going to talk about how did you find out what was going on, Don?
Well,
as a parent of one beautiful 10-year-old daughter.
Yes.
Yep. So back in November, there was a pastor that came to Albuquerque who got a lot of advertisement on social media. We didn't really know what it was about, but his name was Pastor John Amonchukwu. And he's from another state in the U.S., but he decided to come here and speak out against the books inside our library. And he does this. He goes on a tour and goes to different cities and school boards across the country. So we decided to tune in November and see what it was all about. And it was all over the news. There was a lot of protesting, a lot of pushback against him being here, but we decided to tune in.
Pushback against him being here, why?
Because there are a lot of claims about what he was doing, that it was hate, that it was that he was trying to ban books, that all these labels that people just throw out there. And so,
which makes for good TV, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, let's watch this. This is...
Yeah, so we ended up watching it and we were completely appalled by what we saw and what we heard. And my wife decided to jump in and actually start researching different books.
Damara, you're shaking your head, yes.
Yes, so it took me about 4 months to figure out, what was going on within the school system. And unfortunately, when John came, there was a lot of people saying that these books are what kids can see themselves in. I'm like, okay, well, what's the big idea? What's the big deal? So that kind of led me to Albuquerque Public School Library and their catalog. And lo and behold, there's a lot of sexually explicit materials within the public school systems.
Now, how did you did you read the books? Or is there a list of books? I know you have a list of sexually explicit books in our libraries, but you did the research? How did you start the research,
So
Damara?
We initially used a website called Book Looks, and it's a nonprofit organization. Parents went in there and they essentially did all the research. They read the books, they included the excerpts of what was bad, the page numbers, where it was located. They actually came up with a rating system. So I used their website to put this guide together.
Because they did some of the research and found the books,
Yes.
and then you found the books in our library. How did you
Yes.
do that?
So I went to the APS catalog and I searched it by author and book name, book title, and sure enough, there was these books there that, elementary, middle, high schools, they were all in the libraries.
You said at least 4 months of research. Tell me a little bit more about that, Don.
So going along with that, we had to meticulously go through every school and find out what was exactly in there. And the way that we have in this book, in the very front pages, we have a area where you see all the schools with which books are checked out in each school, when they've been checked out, if they're out right now. And this is actually one right here. So we tell every school.
Read a couple of those for us.
So like right here, we'll have Albuquerque High. It'll say, "All Boys Aren't Blue" by George Johnson. It is inside Albuquerque High. And then one will say here, "And they live by Stephen." They lived by Stephen Salvatore. It was lost. So somebody had checked it out and never returned it. And then as you go through this,
Some elementary schools and middle schools as
yeah,
well.
we have it set to where it's color coded to tell you high school, middle school, and some elementary school. So as you flip through here, you'll get to the middle schools.
Give me an example of a middle school. What kind
Let's
of focus?
see. A lot of high schools, of
You
course.
take a look at two.
Alrighty, so we got Sold by Patricia McCormick. It's within Eisenhower Middle School, Garfield Middle School, Hayes Middle School, McKinley, Polk, Tony Hillerman, Truman, Washington. It's all inside that.
Now, what's wrong with these books, Damara?
So there's a lot of obscene sexual nudity in them. There's sex acts between teachers and students. There's rape, there's gore, there's excessive violence, there's drugs. This isn't just your innocent book that a kid picks up. These are stuff that is very harmful to kids and their minds, and especially while they're still growing.
Do parents know about this, Don?
From what we've talked with people, not really. They're very stunned by what they see when they actually hold these books in their hands and they decide to open it up. And what's crazy is that every time we hand this book out to somebody, they always end up flipping to one of the graphic pages immediately. And it's like, I don't plan that. It just goes right there. And you have these ones that are talking about bestiality and stuff like this is in the books for kids to check out.
Which is what? What's bestiality?
Sex with animals. And they have infographics of how to perform certain sexual acts with each other. And it's like, this is the stuff that a parent always flips to, and it's like, what? I did not know that was in there. And so it's powerful what's in here to bring awareness to people who just didn't know. And
They don't know. We don't know. We didn't know.
Yeah, and a lot of the times they'll hear about it, but they've never seen this stuff for themselves. So that's what kind of prompted us to put together a guide. This is also happening in schools like Las Cruces. So we put the guide. Yeah.
This is a really big guide.
Yeah.
You can find it online. Where can you find this?
We can find this at the hitchedapologists.com. We have the guide there available as a PDF, so anybody can access it.
So what do you expect? What do you suggest? I mean, we know what your end result is, but what do you suggest to a parent who said, "Oh, this is kind of interesting," or a grandparent watching? What do they do first? Go onto your site and do what?
Yeah, they go onto the site. I would ask them to get familiar with what's in their child or grandchild's school, because the more education you have on this topic, the better. That way you can know exactly what's in the school. Hopefully they can start challenging the books that are in that school system and start, pushing back with what their kids are being introduced to.
What else are parents telling you once they learn about this, Don?
so again, they're just stunned, and they're asking how to get involved. What are we doing? What are we doing right now? What is the next step? And what me and my wife have been doing is we've been attending the school board meetings here in Albuquerque. And what we have decided to do is we have a small team right now, and we have been going and reading directly quotes from these books to their faces.
To the school board.
To the school board, right there on their mic, right to them. And sometimes we get 2 minutes, sometimes we get 1 minute, but we've been picking the worst books in there and reading the worst excerpts. And we had a grandparent come with us just this past Wednesday. We had a speech, we gave her a book, she decided to research it, and she went to the school board meeting with us. And she decided to speak out against it, and she read from the book as well. So this is what we're looking for.
And we here at Issues and Answers in KCHF TV decided not to read any of the excerpts. I've read some of them, and I was shocked and saddened, actually saddened, that this would be open to our children in our schools.
Yep.
So when they are read to the school board and to all the members of the public who come to the meeting, it's uncomfortable.
I could see it on their faces when somebody starts dropping the kind of words that are in these books and people are hearing it, the shock that you see on their faces in the crowd, and also the complacency that you see on the school board members, rolling their eyes as if it means nothing. And one thing I did want to touch on is that the pastor Amon Chukwu, he's done this, it's on YouTube, you see him reading at other school boards. And when he does this, they try to cut him off, which proves his point. It's like your ears are too innocent to hear this in this place, but the children can read it. But here in Albuquerque...
But is that the reason for cutting them off? Because they're innocent, or they just don't want to hear it?
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to hear it. But here in Albuquerque, it's like, go ahead and tell us more. We don't care. It's fine. And we just get eye rolls.
When you go to the school board meetings tomorrow, what are you asking the school board?
I'm asking them to take action to remove these harmful materials, from kids. I mean, elementary school, that's insane. That's too far. Middle school, high school. These kids are still learning. They come to school to learn, to reason, and to grow. But instead, they're being introduced to pornographic, risky behavior.
Things that never occurred in their brain. Maybe their families try to protect them from home. And as you say, the computers, they're locked out of it. TV, they don't allow it in their homes on TV, but they go to school. And they're able to see things that they never even imagined in their life happens.
Yeah.
And that's something that...
As a child.
That's what I pointed out at one of the school board meetings, is that you guys attempt to protect the children by putting those locks on the computers. If they try to search up a certain site, it blocks. You can't get to it. But then they have the book on the shelf that's just as bad as what they're seeing on the internet, and it's free. They can see themselves in this book. They identify what's in this book, and so therefore it's fine. And it's like it's a logical error. It's a violation of contradiction. So it's trying to bring that out to their awareness is sometimes is frustrating, because again, it comes down to eye rolls and non-belief when the proof is right there in front of them.
So you've gone, and how many times have you gone to the school board so far?
We've gone twice. And the reason for that is this past legislative session, there were 2 bills that were going to be introduced and passed that was going to protect this content in school. There was SB 552 and HB 27. HB was protecting the materials in public libraries, and SB 552 was protecting it within the school libraries. And we were able to get these books to certain representatives and senators. They decided to print hundreds of copies and hand it to every legislator at Santa Fe when it was time to vote on this, and they threatened to filibuster for hours on end reading from this book. This, and plus some other stuff that happened in Las Cruces, there's another team doing it down in Las Cruces as well. Those books, from what I've heard from the legislators, was the reason for those 2 bills to be killed. Now, those bills were going to protect it and not allow parents to go to the school board and complain about it. Now we have a chance. Now we can go back, and that's the reason for going there twice, is that we actually have the capability to do it now.
You asked them, what word specifically did you ask the school board? To take out these books, and what kind of reply did they give you?
Yeah, so usually it's a monologue, so they don't reply when you speak. But our biggest goal is to just spread awareness. And if at least they don't listen, there are other people in the room that it can ricochet to who will listen. Because we've already got approached by substitute teachers who were not aware of how bad it really was. And we were able to give them a few guides of this, as well as grandparents and parents. So we're trying to just spread more awareness.
Well, but more than that, just more than awareness. What's your end result on?
I would say that we want to see reform. There needs to be a way to understand when the surpluses of books that come in, however routes they come in, whether it's through donation, through scholastic book fairs, whatever way these books are coming in, there needs to be a way to reevaluate these and be able to say, wait a second, this is on a list that says that this shouldn't be in this school, so therefore this is rejected. There has to be something there, not just complacency on on the librarian, on the school, on the personnel. There has to be a system in place, which isn't there right now.
What kind of system is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be something that's there for learning about, classical education stuff, not teaching you how to do what we found in these books.
And again, truly, I looked at some of the excerpts. It's not training kids to do certain things, but it's just part of the dialogue of two characters and what they're saying to each other, which a little 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old wouldn't be saying to each other because they don't know about it to say it.
Right, and there's also graphic novels in there that depict certain pictures, like Game of Thrones. You have other stuff in there as well where they could see it on picture, what's happening.
Comic books, I heard, are read through your material, Don.
There's a few graphic novels. There's actually one in there which is a manga, which is Assassination Classroom, who shows a few sexual clips in it, as well as violence towards teachers. And it's like, would you want to have a book like that in there that has violence towards teachers, and you complain it when things happen in your school? It's like you're exposing children to ideas.
But I read that comic books can be a source. I mean, they're comic books which are, I guess, designed for kids to look at comic books, not necessarily adults, but they have a lot of explicit material as well.
There definitely can be, yes.
Tell me a little bit more about the rating system, BookLooks, and there's a booklooks.org.
Yeah, so unfortunately, recently BookLooks got taken down. I don't know why. However, they came up with a rating system. So there's 1 through 5, or 0 through 5. But we focused on the 3, 4s, and 5 because those were the worst kinds that we focused on.
Oh, the books are...
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't what they're rated. So number 4 is obscene sexual nudity. Number 5, you have things like bestiality, sadomasochistic abuse, stuff like that. So that's what we focused on. And they, like I said, they went through all those books. They gave it a rating, and that's how they were able to do that.
What else in your guide would you like to share with folks? I mean, they can look up their child's school to see what the books are in there. That's very easy, very laid out.
Yeah, so there's also a hyperlink here where they are able to learn how to opt out your children from these books. So when they go there, they're able to talk to the librarian, so that's another thing they can do. They can talk to the librarians and tell them, hey, this is the book that I don't want my child reading, so they can get started on that, as well as starting to make those book challenges.
Oh, so there is an option. You can go to your school librarian and say,
Correct.
don't let my child, check this book out?
Correct.
Oh.
Yes.
Sometimes does that not bring more attention? Then the more curiosity is like, why can't I see this?
Well,
and their kid, they tell their friends, let's go look at the book.
Right. And
And tell me what's in it.
There's certain librarians that we've seen across the country who have made it a point as an activist to put these books on the front for kids to be able to pick up. Like, they have it as a display, like, these are your inclusive titles. These are the ones you should be reading. And they know purposely that's in there, and they're trying to project an ideology onto these children. So it's not just that, it's available and you can opt them out, but it's the fact that there's actual activism to have it forced onto them. Like, here it is. It's enticing. And then the way that they're written, very colorful, very enticing for a child to be like, oh, this looks interesting. I would love to read something. And then there it is. They're hooked. They got something into their minds.
What do you think their whole idea behind this is?
It's interesting. So the American Library Association is a big mover behind supporting books like this. I think it comes down to what is that person's worldview, and you have a whole side where people's worldview is to essentially liberate children when it comes to their sexuality. It boils down to stuff like queer theory. They don't see essentially a difference between, a child and a teenager and an adult. They want them liberated to find their sexuality, to find their true selves. And that's why when they look at these books, that's why they say, well, this is a material that they can see themselves in.
Oh, that's why you're saying that. I didn't understand what you were alluding to. And they can see themselves in that.
Yeah.
It opens up to maybe, I guess, who they are.
Yeah. And that's what their goal is. Like, they think that this is who they are, but in reality, it's like, do you really want children to see themselves in porn? Because that's what this comes down to. It's common sense. This is pornographic material, and it's dangerous.
We talked about the danger, the harmful effects of exposure to sexually explicit material in children. There have been some studies on this. At an early age, introducing children to this that they wouldn't find in their own home, but in a book in their school library. What's the harm? What's the harm, Don?
So there is a website called fightthenewdrug.org. And these people, they are non-religious, they're secular, they decided to do medical journals. They've collected things and research, what is it called?
Pornography and how it works on the mind.
Yeah, so they've been able to do articles and journals that they've pulled from medical, like the NIH and stuff like that. And they've been able to tell us that this is as bad as an opioid addiction. Once you start and it goes on, this is a drug. So in a sense...
I've heard the term, there is supposed to be a sexual addiction.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Right, and it encourages risky behavior amongst teens. So I was actually researching this a few weeks ago, and a lot of these materials, I was surprised with sex trafficking. You know, you show kids certain things, pornographic material, to get them desensitized to stuff like that. So this stuff is also tied with, things like sex trafficking. You have, increased depression. These kids don't want to speak out if they see someone being raped, and, encourages their intent to be raped. So there's all of these medical and scientific studies behind this material when kids are consumed by it.
It affects their sexual behavior.
Yeah.
And again, I guess common sense is not to have them as an innocent child read it, but if they do read it, then they think it's just common.
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal behavior. And then some people seek out that behavior. And again, that website is a very powerful website with all the articles they've compiled on there, just showing how addicting it can be. And it could be more addicting than hard drugs. And they said it's basically the same thing as if the school was offering meth or if they was offering fentanyl.
Yeah.
It's there.
Now, who says this, Don?
No, they said it on the website. They said on some of the journal studies, it's as bad as, because when a child's mind gets hooked to this, it can be as bad as of the addiction as fentanyl or.
Well, so I guess they say that about alcohol. Introducing alcohol to a child at a young age, 11 or 12 years old, they have a more propensity to become addicted to it.
Yes.
So you're saying
They have a high chance of being addicted to this stuff and want more and more and to be desensitized.
according to the material I read that you had provided me, it shows that there's a study showing that 7th and 8th graders found that exposure to sexually explicit media, including books, graphic novels, was associated with 3 risky sexual behaviors at a young age.
Yes.
And teen pregnancy and sexual diseases. Okay, what have I not touched upon, Don?
So what I would say is also right now, when it comes to this, we've been doing a lot of outreach events. The last one we went to was the National Day of Prayer. We got a table set up there and we were handing out these guides for free to parents passing by. And when it comes to this, yes, we do offer this book as a PDF for free on our website, and that's all fine. But there's something different about holding this book in your hands and flipping through the pages yourself and showing somebody else who may be into defending this, having it there and seeing it. And when it comes to that, there is a cost that comes to printing these. And right now we have a Give, Send, Go, where we're accepting donations to print out flyers and more of these books right now. And that address would be givesendgo.com/the Hitched Apologists. And it will send you right to the Give, Send, Go page. And it's a nonprofit donation towards that. And yeah, that's what we're looking for. Yeah.
You're looking for them to get their hands on this?
Yes.
To see what's going on in the schools, and then what action do you want to take?
Get involved, just like the grandmother that went with us last week. Get involved, take the chance to go in there and say, I'm going to stand up for what I believe and stand up for the innocence of children. I'm going to go in there and make sure that I can do my part to try to make sure that this isn't happening, however I can help. And that's what we've seen. We've seen people who want to help financially. We've seen people who want to help volunteer at events and be out there and want to talk to adults as they're passing by. We've seen there's multiple ways to get involved, but just having the awareness that you can. It doesn't matter who you are, you can get involved.
With the end result of an organization, your organization, asking the school board to remove these from?
To remove them, and whenever there's new content coming in, to have a reformed way of assessing the content. Yeah, it's about reforming the way that they assess it. and just making sure that this is something that shouldn't be in an elementary. Equates to a rated R film, or this equates to an X-rated film. This should not be in this school right now.
I wonder, could kids go to an X-rated movie?
I would say no.
Or even R? I mean, are they a lot? I mean, it's
I guess it depends.
I don't know if it's against the law.
Here in Albuquerque, I'm sure that they let them into rated R movies. So
I would assume they would have to have their an ID as well to check. So
maybe they should have an idea to check out the books.
Right, exactly. It's all about age appropriateness. Yeah.
As long as there's a system there that says, hey, this book is actually meant for 17
Is there a
over.
system across the country that you know of, Damara?
Not all across the board, and I think that's why I feel like it's important to kind of compare this, like DJ did earlier, is, R-rated. Why is something rated R? Why is something rated PG-13? We have this on video games, we have this on movies, we have this on TV shows.
Music.
Surely we can have it when it comes to the books as well.
DJ and Damara Andrade. Where can they get more information?
So you can contact us at concernforschoolkids@gmail.com. Reach us on the hitchedapologists.com. There's a contact form there as well. You can follow us on social media at the Hitched Apologists on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
No,
and
that's
all of them.
Your blog. You have a blog?
We have a blog on our website, so there's that there too.
And what's the Hitched Apologist?
The Hitched Apologists. We are the apologists, defenders of the historic Christian faith by the use of logical argumentation. And me and my wife are hitched together as married, so we're the Hitched Apologists.
You're hitched together.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us
on
on.
Program and for making this effort and making us aware. And I said it was, to me, rather shocking to see this, and it's not necessarily common sense, and hate anything that robs our children of their innocence, because as we all know, they grow up way too fast. Okay, thanks again for all you do. And thanks for KCHF TV for bringing me this program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.